my belief that Jesus was both a liar and a fraud, and I'm assuming that you don't believe either of those things are true.
No, absolutely not. I don't believe that.
Okay. Now, as it turns out, I can prove from the Bible that he was both. Which one would you want to start with?
Whichever one is which one I should say?
Well,
The liar, the lying part.
the lion
What
part,
part do you
yeah.
think?
That's
Yes.
that's everyone's favorite. All right, so let's go to real quick. Then we'll go to. We already did Matthew 16 like twice tonight. Let me grab a different one, real
Okay.
quick.
Justin, if it's possible, can you scooch down your whole thing? Because on mobile, the was a liar to fraud is almost like I can't see it with all the stuff.
Oh, the
So that might
background. Is
explain like if you aren't getting, yeah, that's a lot
that
better.
better?
Even maybe a little, well, I don't know if you all can see the Jesus, but yeah, much better.
Is that
Now
better?
we can read.
Okay, I think
Yeah, I
we're
think
good.
so.
All right, so thank you for that. I can't. It's hard for me to see what you're seeing. So it's anyways. We're gonna start out really easy on the words of Jesus real quick. We're gonna do John 6:46. I'll put it on the screen so you don't have to swipe away to the Bible app. And it says, mine says not that anyone, but most translations say that it just says no one has seen the Father except the one who is from God. He has seen the Father. This is from the book of John. It's also repeated in one other passage in John 1:18. Let me grab that. We'll put both of them on the screen. John 1:18 reads much the same. It says, no one has seen God. It is only the Son, himself God, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. So then
Right.
from these two passages, it seems that Jesus is saying nobody's seen God except for Jesus.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, then we've got some serious problems, because there's like a dozen times in the Old Testament where people see God. And I think my favorite example is Exodus 24.
Uh-huh.
Exodus 24 says that Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel went up to the mountain, that is, and they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there was something like a pavement of sapphire stone, like the very heaven for clearness. God did not lay his hand on the chief men of the Israelites. They beheld God, and they ate and they drank, which means people did see God besides Jesus.
Okay. So you want my take on that? Or
Sure.
so when Jesus came, believe it or I know you believe that as a human we have body, soul, and spirit, right? So in other words, we are in threefold, right? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so Jesus, this is where Jesus didn't commit any crime or anything. He got crucified by his own people, or the so-called the high priest. Jesus was actually put on trial at a high priest before they bring him to, what's the king name? I forgot his name.
Caiaphas? Pilate?
Caiaphas, Pilate. He was tried the high priest. Jesus came in the scene. He said, I am a child of God. In Israel, those days, if you go there and say, I'm a child of God, because they believe God is a most high, God is a spirit. God don't have it's not like a human that have a wife and kids. So if you go to Israel, those days, the ancient days, if you say, I am a son of God, meaning you are God himself. That's their understanding.
Right, but the claim we're examining is whether or not anyone has seen God.
Right? So I'm building a case, okay? So I'm coming to that. So they, in their belief, if you come to a scene and say, I'm a child of God, meaning there's a spirit of God in you, you actually claiming that you are the God, right? So if Jesus comes and say, no one has seen the God except the Son, what makes Jesus the Son of God? Jesus came himself as a Son of God, meaning God himself had come down low below. So he had become a son, like a regular human being, meaning he has built a body for himself and put his spirit in it. God is a spirit. We all believe that. I don't know if you believe that, but God is a spirit. And in order for God to interact with the people, he have to create a vessel for himself to be able to dwell in it. That's why even as a human that we live here, we have people that have a good spirit and people that have a bad spirit. How we differentiate that? By their works. We shall know
Great.
who they are.
So has anyone seen God?
Yes, Moses did.
Okay, so then
saw
Jesus
his God.
lied.
He didn't lie.
We said nobody has seen God but himself.
Nobody has seen God himself because
No,
he
it says
is
nobody
God
has seen
is-
God except for himself.
Right. So if I'm saying nobody have seen me, but I've seen my except me.
He didn't say
In
me.
other words, no.
He says
I'm
no
saying-
one,
I say,
nobody has seen God. I'll put it back on the screen. I know memorizing verses is not everyone's thing. It says no one has ever seen God. It is only, it is the only Son himself, God, who is close to the Father's heart. So he's saying no one's seen God. Same thing with John chapter 6, verse 46. It says no one has seen the Father except for himself.
yeah. So I don't see where the lie is.
Oh, easy, because you just said it yourself that people did see God. So if Jesus is saying that nobody has seen God except for me, and then we go to Exodus, and it clearly says that 74 people saw God, that's a lie.
Okay, maybe that's well. I still don't believe that. That's a lie. You know what I mean?
Did 74 people see God?
I haven't read that part, so I can.
Well, it says, we'll read it again. It says, Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there was something like a pavement of sapphire stone, like the very heaven for clearness. God did not lay his hand on the chief men of the Israelites. They beheld God, and they ate and they drank. So did they see God?
Well, that's what the text is saying. So.
Okay.
They did.
So according to Exodus, a bunch of people did see God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Jesus said that nobody has seen God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And those can't both be true. One of them has to be false.
Okay. So
So-
how do you determine that? How do you determine? So you determine that. How do you determine that 74 is the truth and Jesus' part is not the truth?
Right. The way I would determine that is because the New Testament is full of lies, tons of them. So if I'm going to trust one of the two testaments, I'd definitely probably trust the Old Testament before I trusted the New Testament, although I don't trust the Old Testament either.
Okay. So then that means that none of them. So then we can pick one then, because if we have to pick one to make the other one to look like a lie, right?
Well, yeah, I'm saying in your worldview, it's a contradiction. Only one of them can be logically correct. One of them has to be wrong. But it's pretty easy to say that Jesus was wrong because Jesus says things that are wrong all the time. So like Matthew 16:27, he gets his own second coming wrong. He says the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and he will repay everybody for what's been done. Truly, I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And everyone standing there tasted death, and he didn't come back in his kingdom.
Well, so do you believe in what is his name? Enoch then? Do you believe that Enoch didn't taste the death?
No, Enoch wasn't standing there.
No, I know that. But I'm saying, do you believe that Enoch didn't taste the death?
Well, according to the Old Testament, Enoch was taken probably in bodily form.
Yeah, so that means he didn't die like the way we know death to be, right?
Right, but was Enoch being spoken about here?
Right, so Jesus was not talking about it at his time.
All right, Richard,
Because it's
listen to the words of the passage. It says, truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death. Who is he talking to?
It's a prophecy.
He's talking to his
prophesied.
disciples.
Right, but he was talking to them in prophecy.
I know, yes.
When Jesus said-
just Richard, calm down. Okay.
I'm very
He's
down.
talking to his disciples, and he says what's going to happen. He says he's going to come with his angels in the glory of the Father. He's going to repay everybody for their deeds. And then he says, when is it going to happen? That's the problem. Because it says there are some standing here, the people standing with him right then. There are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Did all of them die?
All of them died.
Okay. Did he
But
come?
yes,
Did he come back with the angels and repay everybody?
but he hasn't come back yet.
Yes, that's why it's. Yes, that's why it's.
About the second coming.
I know that's why it's a lie.
It's not a lie.
Okay, we'll try this from the beginning. It says, "Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Okay, so according to chapter 16, verse 28, will somebody standing there still be alive when the second coming happens?
No.
No, he literally says, yes, truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming. Okay, which means some of them will be dead and some of them will be alive, right?
Okay, right?
Fantastic.
But here's
So,
the thing, right?
Did all of them die?
All of them died.
Okay,
But
did
can I say
Jesus'
something?
second coming happen?
Not yet.
Then it's a lie.
It's not.
It's a
Can
lie.
I say something?
Sure.
Can I say something?
Mhm.
When the disciple went to Jesus and asked him, "Tell us," because you keep saying the world is coming to an end. Then so we know. Tell us what the world is coming to an end. You talk about second coming of you coming back the second time. So the disciples went to him and said secretly. Bible said the secret. Matthew 24:24.
Yep.
They said, "Tell us
Yep.
when will be the sign."
You're making it
of your
worse.
coming?" No, just hold on.
You're making it worse.
Jesus, no, okay, you can put it on the screen so people, your audience can read it.
You're making it
Or you can
worse.
read it.
He gives a
No.
bunch of signs of the end times.
Right.
And then what's he say? After some of these signs, he says, immediately after the suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven. The powers of heaven will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. When is this supposed to happen? He tells you. It says, from the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branches become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near at the very gates. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all of these things have taken place. Just like he said in Matthew 16, the generation currently living will still be alive when the second coming happens.
Okay, so Jesus was giving them what would take place. There will be rumors of war. At his time, there was no rumors of there was no rumors of war.
They were literally at war for almost all of Jesus' lifetime. There was like 6 different rebellions between the Jewish people and the Roman government. And then shortly after Jesus was crucified, the Romans quite literally steamrolled all of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm. But he was saying there will be war across the nations.
He didn't say
It
that.
was only between. Go back all the way from the beginning.
Yeah.
When the disciple asked him.
We'll just try this again. Is his second coming going to happen before that generation passes away?
Ask the question again.
Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all of these things have taken place. Did that generation pass away?
That's again. He was making a prophecy.
Did
not talking about
that generation pass away?
Of course, there's so many generations
Okay,
that passed away.
then it's another lie. So Jesus said, this generation will not pass away until all of these things take place, and those things didn't take place.
Okay, I think this is where we draw the line, because what Jesus was saying, he was giving a prophecy.
Yeah, I know.
It was a prophecy, and you talk to the other caller,
yeah,
and you explain it.
It was a prophecy about the near future.
So in other words, Jesus was predicting. Are we seeing whatever Jesus said is taking place in our time?
It's not taking place in our time.
In our time.
It's not, though. And even if there was something happening in our time that looked similar, it doesn't actually mean anything, because Jesus says that it's going to happen within the generation of the people standing there. Richard, do you understand what Matthew is trying to say here?
what I understand was Jesus was given a prophecy.
Yes, and
And
when
the
is that?
prophecy is not
When is that
fulfilled.
prophecy going to come true?
We're living in it now.
No, when
In
according
our
to
generation,
stop
2024.
stop just saying stuff that you heard on TV. When does the book say it's going to come true?
The book didn't say specific time.
It
But he
does.
said,
It
watch
says
out.
this generation will not pass away until all of these things have taken place. So the cutoff date is within that generation.
That's your understanding.
No, that's what words mean.
That's your understanding.
No, that's just what the words mean. Same with Matthew 16. He says that some of you standing here will not taste death before you see me coming back in my kingdom. He quite literally believed he was coming back within their lifetime to judge everybody, which is why every other New Testament author agrees with that. Paul agrees with it. Paul says in like 5 different places that Jesus is coming back within people's lifetime. In fact, he tells people not to get married and not to have babies in Corinthians because everything is about to come to an end. That's chapter 7. Also, Flanker, thank you for the $2 super chat. Flanker says it means anything but what it actually says. And yes, that's the first tool that Christians reach for on their tool belt is the words don't mean words hammer.
Okay. But again, prophecy, when somebody give a prophecy, doesn't mean necessary. When God told Israel or Jacob, saying that your descendants will be a slave after 400 years, I'll come and rescue them. It has to happen. It didn't. He was telling Jacob, but through his kids, they went to Israel.
You're completely lost, and you're just bringing up another problem because they weren't slaves for 400 years. The Bible doesn't agree on how long they were actually in Egypt. One passage said it was 400. That's Genesis 15.
Uh-huh.
One passage says that it's 430 years. But if you actually add up the lineage of the people, according to the book of Chronicles, they were only there for 210 years. So the Bible can't even agree on how long they were there for.
Because everybody was given their side of the story.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Bible is not inspired by God. It's just a bunch of people pretending to know what God thinks.
Okay. I guess your mind is made up, my mind is made up, so at this point I don't think we can convince each other. You know what I mean?
I know. I think that the text says what it says, and you think the text will say anything except for what it actually says.
Oh, it's a prophecy.
I know.
Every part of the Bible is a prophecy, and prophecy.
No, not every part of the Bible is a prophecy. In fact, I'm going to read you a passage right now, and I guarantee when I read it to you, you're going to tell me that it's not a prophecy. Okay, you ready?
I'm listening.
All right, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 10 through 19. It says, when you draw near to a town to fight against it, offer it terms of peace. If it accepts your terms of peace and surrenders to you, then all the people in it shall serve you as forced labor. But if it does not accept your terms of peace and makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall put all of its males to the sword. You may, however, take as your plunder the women, the children, livestock, and everything else in the town, all of its spoil. You may enjoy the spoil of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given to you. Paul, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Paul says the word of God is absolute except when it isn't. I agree. Whenever you don't like what it says, you can just change the meaning of the words. So is it a prophecy that somebody, like I should go into like the neighboring town and plunder them and kidnap their women?
They were traveling.
That's not my question. Is this a prophecy?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so how does this prophecy get fulfilled? How do I fulfill it? How does anyone fulfill it?
How do you... Okay, so that's what I was saying. So they're traveling. As they're traveling, Moses is giving them message along the way as they are traveling.
Well, this isn't while they're traveling. This is while they're at the foot of the mountain. Deuteronomy. Do you know why Deuteronomy is called Deuteronomy?
No.
It's 2 words in Greek, deutero and nomos. When you combine them, you get Deuteronomy, and it means the second law. Okay. So the second law was given by Moses right before he passed away and handed the reins off so that they can enter the promised land. So we have the original law was given at Mount Sinai, And then the second giving of the law was given by Moses right before his death. That's why we've got Deuteronomy is named the second law. So
Right.
this wasn't given by Moses while they were wandering around. This was given by Moses at the end of his life. And it's very clear that it's not a prophecy. It is a command. When you go to war, this is what you should and shouldn't be doing, right?
But they were going to go to war because at the time this message came, they were not still in Egypt. They were in the wilderness, right?
They were in the wilderness, and they were in the wilderness. Richard, listen. Richard, listen.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you know this, but when you ask questions, you can't hear the answer to the question if you keep talking.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So they were in the desert. They were in the wilderness. Okay. But they weren't wandering at this stage. And this command is what to do later while they're in the promised land. It's a command.
While they're on the promised land?
Yeah, this is.
I thought you said Moses gave this message before he passed on.
Richard, I need you to really focus. This is a command to the Israelites on how to conduct their business when entering the promised land, which happens in the future. Moses never got to go into the land, remember?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what you're supposed to do when you're in the land. This is how you conduct your warfare. Do you grasp the contents?
Okay.
Okay.
But this message was coming from who?
This coming from God.
Through who?
Through Moses.
So they were still on the wilderness. They were telling them what.
I literally just said that twice, Richard. They are not.
I know.
They are not in the promised land. This is a command for how to conduct business when you get into the land. Do you understand?
Right.
Fantastic.
So,
now, is this a command or is this a prophecy?
It's a prophecy.
Okay. How does this prophecy get fulfilled?
The prophecy get to fulfill that. If I'm coming, say if I'm going to, say, California, right? I'm in somewhere, let's say, where, Missouri, right? Let's say I'm traveling with my boss or my friend and say, hey, Richard, if you get to California, this is what you should do, right? I'm not there yet, just like you stated. I'm not there yet. So somebody is prophesying to me that if I get there, this is how I should conduct business. I've never been there. I don't know how the life will look like. I don't know who all live on the land. I don't know what's going to happen. So God has revealed that through the person or through Moses, telling the children of Israel, say, hey, if you guys get there, this how you people should conduct business.
Yes, I know.
That's a prophecy.
Yes, that's how.
What do you think a prophecy is? Because you've just described instructions.
Prophecy is a near future things are going to happen or things are going to take place in the future.
Right. Just because something's future tense doesn't mean it's a prophecy. It's predicting what's going to happen, right? So if I give you instructions, I'm telling you what to do. A prophecy is telling you what's going to happen. Those are two different things.
So you're predicting things that you never see.
No, Richard, you're not listening. She's saying there's a difference between prophecy and instructions. Both instructions refer to the future. One tells you what you should be doing, and one tells you what you should be looking for. Do you see the difference?
I still don't see the difference.
Sarah, I don't know. Maybe my English is bad. Sarah, can you try it again?
Let's say I am giving you a test. Right? So, Richard, I hand you a piece of paper, and this is for you to take an exam. On the top of the piece of paper, there are instructions for what you should do. So if I hand you the piece of paper and I say, okay, write your name on it, answer the questions in order, use a number 2 pencil, I'm giving you instructions for how to take the exam. If instead I hand you the piece of paper and I say, you are going to get a 96% on this exam, I am predicting the future. Do you see how the instructions for how to take the exam and me telling you what's going to happen on the exam are two different things?
That's where I disagreed. And you want me to explain to you why?
Okay, so instructions on how to do something are de facto prophecies.
You asking me?
Yeah.
And what was the question again? Sorry.
Instructions and prophecies are the same, is what you're saying. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for the lives. I appreciate that. Dr. Joe.
Yes.
Okay, so
We use it.
okay, so
we
every every instruction in the Bible then is a prophecy, is what you're saying.
We use different words, but the same meaning.
So every instruction in the Bible is then a prophecy, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me what is not a prophecy?
What is not prophecy?
Yeah.
When it comes to God, God deals with his people.
That's not an answer. Richard, what is not a prophecy in the Bible? When I'm looking at a text, how do I know that this text is not prophetic? Thank you, 40, for the lives. I appreciate that, 40.
What is not prophecy is this, right? I have something in my hand, right? You're looking at it. You have it here with, let's say, for example, I'll give you, you have a phone. Your phone is in my hand. You're looking at it, right? Hey, dial this number, right? That's you standing there. I'm standing there. The very object I'm talking about is right there in my hand, and you're looking at it, and then that's what they call instruction. I'm instructing you to do specific thing right on there. But if I tell you that go to California or go to New York, if you go there, go do this or this was or protect yourself from this and this and that. I'm prophesying because these things are going to come. You don't know. It's not there for me to point it out to you that, hey, this is it.
I have never seen someone say so many words and say so little. Richard, you didn't answer my question at all. Also, His Zoteness, thank you for the $5 super chat. His Zoteness says, dig your content. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. iReactor, good to see you in the house again. iReactor with the $6.66 super chat says, ordering at the bar is a prophecy and I'm a prophet. I agree. Next time I take anybody's drink order, I'm going to call myself a prophet. Now, let me ask you a question. Why do we have Jesus in many occasions in the New Testament referring to the law and the prophets? Why do you think that construction happened?
Why Jesus did talk about the law and the prophets?
Yeah, remember when he's questioned about what the greatest law is? And he says
Right.
the first is you shall love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, and soul. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commands hang all of the law and the prophets. If all of the laws are prophetic, why wouldn't he just say all the prophets? Why does he make a distinction between the law and the prophets?
Because the law was a physical law that is just like Constitution.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a physical thing.
Yes, the law.
You want my point?
Yeah, and how do I know what is a law and what is from a prophet?
That's a prophet is somebody is predicting future.
Right. Oh, yes, yes. It's a prediction. Okay. So when Jesus says the law and the prophets, what is the distinguishing feature between a law and a prophecy?
Because if I'm holding a certain position, that makes me a prophet. Or
No.
holding a certain position.
What is the distinguishing feature between the genre of law and the genre of prophecy?
That's what I'm explaining to you. There's a police officer and there's a law. So the police officer...
You're not hearing... That's not an answer to my question. I'm talking about literary genre. When you're reading a text, how do I know if that text is part of a law code or if that text is part of a prophetic oracle? What are the markers?
The markers is the prophetic is something that's going to take place in future.
Yes, and how does the prophet refer to the future?
By prophesying. The law.
What type of words does the prophet use to refer to future events?
That says the Lord.
He says, I'll just give you the answer since you can't comprehend the question. A prophet will say, such and such is going to happen. These are events that will take place. These are the things to look for. There are things that are going to happen. It is a prediction. Law codes aren't predicting things. Law codes are saying, this is how you should behave. Law codes by themselves are not prophetic.
My network is going crazy.
I believe that.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you better. So again, okay, I have a question. And help me understand this, okay? When Moses was telling the Israelites that if you get on the land, was Moses was giving an instruction? Did Moses know that people was going to live? People already live on the land?
No, they already knew they were going to live on the land. God already told them that I'm bringing you into the land. That is a prophecy God had already delivered to them. But that doesn't mean that there's no distinction between the law and between the prophets. And Dex, with the $5 super chat, says the real question deconstructed Christians want answered is who would win on a 1v1, a Bible man or Larry Boy? And I got $100 on Larry Boy, no doubt. All right, listen, Richard,
I'm listening.
I had a good time talking to you. I'm going to move to somebody else in the guest queue, okay?
No problem. Thank you so much.
All right, cheers.